All right, hi. So this video is going to be about how to just grade normal assignment using Google Classroom. I just started grading this assignment and I realized, oh, I should probably do a quick record of this. All right, so here's my assignment. It's day 8 of lesson 3. All right, so I see that I have some students turned it in, and so to grade this Google form, I am going to click the Google form link down here. All right. I don't want to necessarily view assignment per se. I mean, I can always, view assignment right now. I see a few students have, turned this in. But the nice thing about Google Forms, whether the student turns it in or not, you're still going to see their responses and grade them if they submitted the Google form. All right, so you don't have to search in every, if this was a Google Doc, I would have to search in every single student's folder to see if a student did the work but didn't click the turn in button, right? Just to make sure that didn't happen. Where Google Forms, I don't got to worry about that. I'm going to see everyone's response as long as they click submit on the Google form to even submit their Google form at all. So I click on the Google form, right? And okay, so I forgot that my camera's my camera is covering up the important little thing. There is this. If this Google form belongs to you, you will get a little pencil in the lower right-hand corner. That is the edit pencil. All right, so we're going to click the edit pencil of our Google form that we've got here. All right, I clicked the edit pencil, and now I'm in edit mode for this particular Google form. All right, I'm in edit mode. Move this over here. All right, now I want to grade this. I want to go into responses. All right, I'm going to click on responses. Looks like I've got 7 responses. All right, now don't. I'm not going to pay attention to this yet because I really haven't manually graded this. If your Google form, let me go back over questions. If you have your Google form all with multiple choice, if all your questions are multiple choice, do we have any multiple choice here? Yeah. So if you have them all multiple choice and you have the answer key, then Google Forms will automatically grade everything that's multiple choice with an answer key, as long as you don't have any other options. So if every question is a multiple choice question with an answer key, then Google Forms will automatically grade it, and you can skip this step and go right to Google Classroom and just click the import grades, and it will all import. But since I don't do all multiple choice, I do a lot of short answer, some long answer, these kinds of things. I need to manually grade my assignment. It's fine. It's really fast. I click on responses, and I want to go by question. Now, actually, I already started this. So, for instance, this question's already been graded. So I know I stopped at question 4 to give you an idea of how this works. So I'm looking at question 4. Every answer I see right now, that's a student response. All right, all these are student responses, and it's my job to grade them. Now, I already developed a little answer key for myself to help me remember what kind of response I'm looking for. So I see a student here, 3.3 years, 3.3 years. The thing is that if a student says 3.3, right, that'll show up as 0 points when Google automatically grades it, because I didn't specifically say 3.3 is an acceptable answer on the short answer key. Google is going to say that doesn't count. That's no good. I'm going to say no, that's fine. I am going to go in here and say, remember to label your units, right? Remember. So I'm giving some feedback to the student. Remember to label your units. All right, I'm going to press save, and now when I release this student's score, they will get a copy of their Google form with this response with my individual feedback that went in right there. This student says 2.6. I make these 2 points. If they had given me no response, I would make it, give them half credit for it. That way, if they give me 0, their assignment goes into 50, and that way averages stay at 50 all the time, unless the student, goes above and beyond to do some work, right? So this is a trial. I wouldn't call this a correct answer, but it's reasonable. So for me, I'm giving this some partial credit, and I'm going to have to talk to them. I'm going to have to write in some feedback here and try to figure out where they maybe have gone wrong. When I have more time, I'm going to do some error analysis here. But right now, I'm going to give them some partial credit because that's a reasonable answer. This one less reasonable. This one not reasonable. So maybe for these, I might do 1.2 or 1.2. They're trying. They're putting in some effort. They're throwing some spaghetti at the wall. It's not good enough to pass quite yet. They need to improve the answer and try again. So, for instance, for this one, I'm going to say, try and use the TVM solver on your calculator. And I already went to Google, and I found a video that shows them how to use a TVM solver on their calculator. So I'm just copying the link to that that instructional video that I already previewed, and now I'm going to Control A, Control C, because I want to send this message to both of these students, right? So these two students, I don't know where they're getting these answers. I want them to go back and try again. Maybe they were just trying to make a guess. Maybe they tried to calculate something. That's fine. It's worth they tried, so I'm going to give them a little partial credit. But I want them to try a little harder. All right, so I press save. Oh, I forgot to point that out. Pressing save like this is very important. Every time I make a change to any grade, I want to press save. All right, so whenever you make a change, you want to press save because that saves the grades for that question. Now I'm going to question 5. Right? Apparently, I did not give myself a answer key for this, so I would have to go and solve for this one. But I think that basically gives you an idea of what I'm doing here. I'm going question by question. And that way I get to see all the responses for the students on that one question all at once, and I can give them feedback. And when I see students making similar types of errors or similar types of things, I can give them a unique feedback to say, this is what you got to do to maybe, here's a strategy of how to do a little better on this response. And then they can resubmit it to me and I can regrade it. I think I've already completed, I've already done the how to grade resubmits on Google Forms. All right. So let's say I have done with this. All right. I've gotten all the way to question 13. I'm done. So after I've got to question 13 and I've manually graded everything, I haven't yet, but after I've manually graded everything, I will go back over here and I will click this import grades, right? So this is where my lesson started. This is my assignment. There's my Google form in my assignment. There's my import grade button. If I click on this, all the grades, now watch this, over here, woo, it's importing. Usually actually doesn't take that long. But there it is. So my grades went directly from my Google form with one click. It went, and now the grades are now in there. Now, of course, these aren't the real grades. I don't want to return these yet because I still need to manually grade the rest of this assignment. But man, this is so much faster than going one student at a time, one worksheet at a time, getting through this. All right. So that is how I normally do grading with Google Classroom and Google Forms. I happen to jump in here since I just realized I forgot some important parts of grading. Okay, so this is that document I was with a minute ago, and I've almost finished manually grading it. It took me, I don't know, there was 7 responses here, and there was a lot of feedback I had to give. It took about 10 minutes to grade everybody. That was 7 responses, I suppose. That's a lot longer than I'd like, but there was a lot of feedback because they had answers that were close. There was a lot of things where to give you an idea of some of the feedback that I had to provide. Students were like, just not understanding the question. That's one where I had to give feedback. But like this feedback here, I said, you try to use the TVM solver, and I had that link. And I also went into my own, in my own channel on YouTube, and I found where I was teaching this particular part of the lesson there on YouTube, and I gave them the link to basically the classroom instruction for that day. And so I was able to give them that. Other kinds of feedback I gave, just to give you an idea of, there was some feedback to give because they just made some interesting errors. What's happening, I think, is that we had a week off break, and then information has fallen out. Oh, I have failed to give grades for this one. I'm glad I went over and saw this. So these are trials; they're not reasonable. So I am giving them like 1.2 out of 2, so they get partial credit for attempting. Because I want to reward attempts. I don't like blank answers. I hate blanks. I want to engage brains. All right, so I've graded that. All that's graded. Let's see. All that's graded. I think I left the last 2. Okay, here I'm grading the last 2. Pardon me. Ooh. So I probably should actually just create an answer key where all these are correct, so that it would automatically grade these for me. I'm not sure why I'm still manually grading this question because I just want to see that they're going to answer me something. This is the feedback question. So anybody who gives me feedback at all, any feedback, even if it's nah, I give credit to. But this person didn't give me feedback, so it's a half credit. All right. Okay. So I'm done. I have now completely manually graded this document. Before I said, you can always go over to Google Classroom, click this import button, and now these are the final grades that are going in, the books for this particular assignment, unless they resubmit. All right. Now these are people who didn't even fill out any anything at all. Right? They never went into the form and clicked submit. Well, for me, maybe you want to give them zeros. I'm going to give them a 10.5 because they get the half credit, and then that way it provides a little more flexibility. Those zeros are terrible for averages. Whereas a 50, they can not do an assignment or two and recover from that as they get better motivated. All right, so I'm going to, here's a little trick I'll show you with Google Classroom. I'm going to return these. These students got the real grades. All right, so that's the ones that, but for the rest of these who got the half credit, when I'm going to click on them sign, I'm going to return, and I'm going to tell them all just please complete this assignment. And this will send an email out to all of them who haven't even touched this yet to go, complete this. It's a little reminder to say, hey, get this done. All right, and then here's another thing I neglected to show you last time. When you're done grading, you're going to want to send out all that individual feedback you did. Google Classroom doing a little, the return in Google Classroom, that doesn't give them their individual feedback. You've got to do that on the Google form. And let me show you the two ways to give them the individual feedback. So all that individual feedback I was giving, I've got to click on Release Score. So if I go to the Individual tab, I can click Release Score. I can also go to the Summary tab and release scores. And this is annoying that I've got to do this because I wish there was a button like that on the Question tab, because that's where I do most of my grading. But there's not. There's not a button to release scores on the Question tab. So I'm just going to release all these scores. So let me just show you what I did. I click on Release Scores, and then everything's selected, and because I want to release all of these, and I'm going to click Send Emails and Release. Whoops! So out into space got sent an email to everyone who completed the form. Now I'm going to show you, what this looks like when you get one on the student side of things. Now I don't think I completed I never clicked Submit today, but I'll show you what it looks like for another form. So this is a form I completed while I was in class. Apparently I didn't do very good because I didn't complete it because I don't want to show the kids all the answers, right? So they're going to get an email. It looks like this, right? It'll say score released, and it'll tell them what lesson their score was released on. If they click on View, they'll get this document. This is not a Google form. This is like their copy of their responses of their Google form. They can't edit their answers from here. They're going to have to go back into the Google Classroom and into the assignment and resubmit their, they'll have to click on their Google form, and this isn't the one Google form that I did. I'll have to go back in the Google form that they actually clicked on that I actually submitted. So I'll have to find this one. It was day 5. It's day 5 over here on Thursday. Let's see if this was day 5. So they'll get this. When they click back on the assignment, they'll say, you've already responded. And I'll show you in the video where I teach you how to build a Google form, how to set your Google form up so that your students can edit the responses. If you want your students to do one and done and never be able to give you improved answers, I guess you don't want them to edit their responses, and you'll turn that thing off. For my assignments, for me, I almost always want students to improve their responses. That's the name of the game. That's the learning process, right? So they're going to click on Edit Your Response, and then they can go back in and change their answers to their Google form based on the where is it? Where'd it go? Based on this thing that they got. So it looks like I didn't give myself feedback on some of this stuff because I knew that was me. Did I give myself any feedback? That says no, I didn't give myself any feedback. Okay, so I knew I was me when I graded this, and I didn't give myself feedback because it'd be a waste of time, right? But normally there would be like if I had gotten this wrong, I would have given myself a little, there'd be some words here about what if I had given myself feedback about what I did wrong, and that feedback would show up here, and they can go back into their Google form and then change those answers based on the feedback you've given them. So this gives them what you gave them, how many points out of how many points you rated that particular question, and I gave myself half credit for this one because I gave no response, right? Half credit because there was no response because I didn't want to reveal these answers, and I didn't reply to these questions either, so I got half credit for all those. But so this is where they get their. So that's very important to remember when you're in the Google form and you've got to do this release score thing. Now, I don't want to press it again since I just sent, but they'll all get an email in their Gmail account where all the feedback is there. They get a document with a copy of all their responses to their Google form with your individual feedback that you sent them. That's how they get the individual feedback, is by you clicking that release scores button, which is located either in the summary tab of responses or in the individual tab of responses. One thing that will happen is when you do the resubmit, I think I already go over this in the resubmit button, but you can click through and you can see when the score was released. And if they change any answers, it'll say updated after released. That's an indication that you might need to go back and regrade and looking for improved answers and that kind of thing. All right, so had to jump right in there because I'm like, this is an important part. I don't want to leave that out of the Google Form grading process. I'm sure you all know how it is. There's always one more thing to talk about. Okay, well, I just realized another thing to talk about is, I showed you how to, I just released my scores for this assignment. I'm going to go into classwork. I click on view assignment, and then I have this button where I can import grades, right? I click import, the grades go in. And now the grades are in Google Classroom for the one class, but not for my other classes. I will then, I'll move this out of the way. I will then have to go into my other periods where, so if you would assign if you assign the same Google form in all your sections, or then you'll need to do this, or if it's a different Google form in every section, you need to do this. But my recommendation is if you're teaching, multiple sections of the same thing and you're using basically the same assignments, even if you're using the same assignments on different days, just use the same Google form. The same Google form can handle, hundreds of responses. You're fine. So I need to go, this was today. So I see 3 people turned in. I don't have to grade now for this class. This class got graded when I graded the other class, when I graded the other section of this. So I'm done with both classes, right? I graded all of them. So that's this. So that's importing the grades, going in there, and now I am returning those to the students. They already got their emails when I clicked release grades, right? Oh, and then of course, one more thing. I'm going to let these students know, send them an email. But one more thing is that once I have done manually grading, I then want to do my analysis, right? I want to use the data from the Google form to analyze where my students are at. All right, that's the other part of the game of this. That's the other power of Google Forms. All right, guess what? It gives you bar charts of the spread of your data. It gives you your average, it gives you your median, and it can give it to you, and you can take a look at how it does per question. Now, yes, if you're grading any assignment, you can calculate this pretty easily. Even I think PowerSchool gives you the average of an assignment. If you look in there, there's that kind of data in there, but not per question, right? You can. There's my graph for how students are doing on that question. When the answers are short answer, like I have, there is less. This chart is not as useful, right? This bar chart is not very useful because there's repetition here. You see that? You see how these is really the same? These are 1, 2 students, 4 students, 5 students who have all said the same thing. I've got 2 students who are off a little here. They didn't give me the response I was looking for. So, what I do know by looking at this is that 5 of 7 students are where they need to be on this one. This one, I got 4 students who are where they need to be. Oh, no, 5 students who are where they need to be. Okay, so I got those other 2 who are a little bit off. So again, I get all this great item analysis from Google Forms. They didn't give me a bar chart here. They just gave me different responses. This one's pretty useful, right? Because you can just combine this. I got 5 students who are giving me what I want, and then 1 student who's a little bit off. But actually, this student has got the right idea. They just did something ahead of time, and they jumped the gun a bit. So when I actually did the error analysis, right, I realized this person had just multiplied this by 180 early. I was looking for this answer in this question, right? And so there was that. So all right, and then of course my exit tickets, my formative assessments is actually just asking the students, how comfortable do you feel? How are you feel like you're near where you need to be for the learning targets? And this is the second to last lesson for second to last day of this lesson for these learning targets, and I got 6 out of 7 saying they're either mostly or completely comfortable with this learning target, and 1 who's not. I could go and find out who this is if I wanted to, and maybe I will. I would, if I want to find out who this is, I'll go into the responses. Right? Ooh, come on, Google. Oh, I'm already in responses. Silly me. I want to go into individual responses. What I should say. I want to go in individual, and I want to go to question. Actually, I want to go individual. I want to go to question. I guess I will go individual. and then I'll go to the bottom here and see who said, oh, it was this person, number 7. And I can go see maybe that person doesn't attend class very often and or hasn't turned in their work, and maybe that's why they're not successful right now because they have some catching up to do, and that's okay, right? And they say, and look at this, they're being honest, like they gave it a shot, but they could have done better, right? So there it is, and that's how you use Google Forms to inform your instruction, right? Are they ready for a new learning target? When they're all telling you in the summary tab, if they're all telling you that they're comfortable with this learning target, and maybe you don't want to just ask them, maybe you want to give them like a test question or a quiz question as the last question of your lesson, like as a real exit ticket or something, and that's what you ask instead. And then if 80% of your class is doing pretty good and the rest of them are doing okay, then you can move on. You've hit that learning target success. You can move on to the next thing. That's it. I think this is. I think I'm done. I think there's nothing more for me to talk about in terms of grading Google Forms. Yeah, I think I'm good. All right. See you later.